you've had a very interesting journey as an artist, as a musician, having such tremendous exposure, growing up in a mega church, all of that. Has your journey made you unique as an artist, and it's reflected in the fact that you can swing as a pendulum between the two worlds? Is it very unique? Only a journey such as yourself playing for Maroon 5 and then collaborating with all these gospel artists. Can anybody do this, or is this the journey that God has had for your life?
You know, I mean, I'm sure every artist thinks they're unique, you know, but I have, and not on purpose really, but I've had quite an interesting journey. I've had an interesting journey, and I've taken interesting steps that has gotten me to here. So I guess the answer is no, I don't think any artist could do this. I mean, I think artists have attempted to. I mean, Snoop Dogg had a bunch of big gospel names on his record, and it did well numbers wise, but I don't know that it connected in that community, right, as authentically as I will, because I'm still a part of the community, even though I'm also a part of this R&B community and a part of this pop community. But I think the fact that I've kind of kept the standard of who I've never sacrificed myself or my faith to be in any of these circles. I've always remained PJ throughout that. And I think that's put me in a place. But I will say, I hope this normalizes being able to swing. And you know, I hope this is the start of, because I feel like when I started doing R&B and things outside of gospel, that was the beginning of normalizing that, right? And having believers be comfortable with like love songs, and or they were comfortable with them, but they just weren't comfortable saying that they were listening to them. But I think that this trend, hopefully this starts a trend of people saying, yeah, I love gospel, I love this, I can do it all when I feel led. You know, I think, you know, to speak to that 15-year question, I think I had to like basically complete my first purpose of showing who I was as this believer who stepped outside the gospel. And now I'm able to say, you know, this is my roots, you know, after I've shown who I am, as opposed to confusing people and jumping back and forth from the very beginning. I think I had to be deliberate in saying who I was first, and then showing this is my roots and this is also a part of me. Yeah.
One thing that I would say about you, as you've rightly quoted, is that your music is very authentic to who you are. It's soulful, it's melodic. But what I'm seeing, and I know you got a musical ear, so you hear it, is that today's generation, we see a lot of artists trying maybe to replicate a sound and a style that might be what the market is asking for, maybe what the labels are asking for, whether it be praise and worship, whether it be urban, what have you. Do you think, why have you remained authentic to your sound and you didn't reflect any praise and worship on your album? You stay true to your sound. But do you have an issue with other artists who maybe try to gravitate towards a sound, maybe because they think that's what the public wants?
I don't have an issue with it unless it's because of it being what the public wants. I mean, I've had to fight that same fight in my career as an artist, where I wasn't doing what was popular on the radio necessarily, you know? And I think with this gospel record, it's a continuation of that. I mean, when you talk about Tasha Cobbs Leonard, who's on the record, and Travis Green, they are amazing at what they do with praise and worship. But I do believe it comes from a very authentic place. I've known Tasha since our freshman year in college, you know, together. And she moved into that organically. That's who she was. And coming from that full gospel background, where, you know, that my dad started, that was the vibe we started in. Praise and worship is where we started a lot of that flavor, you know, the Black praise and worship. And so when it's authentic, I'm cool. And I think that shines through usually when you're not just chasing a radio sound, or you're not just chasing what the label wants. When you are who you are, I think that shines through. And with this record, I really wanted to pay homage to the music that I grew up loving, mainly, and the stuff that I wrote organically. I've never really written praise and worship songs. So when I was picking songs, I wasn't really going to pick that because that's not really what I do. So this was more of, you know, staying authentic to the songs that I write.
I want to address the elephant in the room, which is that 2020 has been perhaps the most challenging year of most people's lifetimes. I'm talking about COVID-19, the economic downturn, the social unrest. I mean, and we got a federal election coming on the horizon that got people nervous. So I wanted to know, how have you managed and navigated through this as an artist, as a family man, and keep your head up high? And what do you foresee? And perhaps is this music intended to maybe bring some peace to a lot of people who are really feeling fearful about what the future looks like?
Yeah. I have had mixed feelings through all of this. I mean, for me, the bright side and the biggest thing that I've taken away from it is I was traveling quite a bit before this. I mean, I was on the road, and because I juggle with Maroon 5 and my solo stuff, they usually tie together, and it just becomes one long tour for 7 months, 6 months. And that was definitely taking away time from my family, and my kids. So the most amazing part about this has been I've had endless time with them. And, I got to teach my kids how to ride bikes. I got to, I didn't want to be a teacher, but I became a teacher, homeschool. We just started back Monday. So that's been great for me. And, as far as the music, I certainly miss playing in front of crowds, and the live music industry and my musician friends, are getting hit pretty hard. But I will say that, because I started this record right before COVID, some parts of it, none of the features, but besides Smokey, but we had some of the music done already, the band stuff. And I was going to put it off until next year because of all of this, excuse me. And, but then I started to think, man, because no music brings hope and inspiration and a love and a warm hug like gospel music.
True.
And I said, man, I think this is the time people need it more than ever. So I'm not going to put it off. Let's figure out how we can do this. And we started to figure it out from the technical standpoint. I had to do Zoom sessions and, audio mover sessions where I'm looking into the studio and, from another city. But I think God kind of worked it out where maybe I wouldn't have got this whole list done like this in this amount of time, but everybody, it was less traveling. Like, imagine trying to coordinate this with everybody's schedules going all these different ways. So God had us sitting still, and I was like, man, all roads lead to me trying to finish this. And when I did, the only part I missed was being in the studio. I was looking forward to being in those rooms with all those artists and producing them that way. But, we had to evolve into what the times are right now. And I felt like no better time to release it than right now in the middle of all this unrest.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll conclude with one final question, which is the fact that you're releasing this gospel album, and I hear the little tidbits between you and your dad going back and forth. Has this final eventuality of releasing a gospel album kind of brought such joy and happiness and kind of rekindled your relationship with your dad, or has it always been tight?
It's always been tight. Yeah, I think I hope that shines through the most, because people are saying, "Oh, I know your parents are so happy now this gospel record." They kind of been happy with all my records, They were my first challengers in all of this. When I decided I was going to do something different, I had to make it through them first. Like, I had to answer to them first and have the arguments and the debates with them first. 20 years ago, you know what I'm saying? So when they realized who I was and that it wasn't just rebellion. Like, this was a purpose thing. They've been my biggest fans for so long. And so now this is just a continuation in that. And that's what I love about the conversations. I think that's what really brings the albums together. The album together is me and my dad's conversation, because it shows a relationship that withstood whatever people thought might be something that we disagree on. He's been there for me, and I've been there for him throughout all of these changes and in these evolutions. And this is no different. But of course, he's happy I'm making a record of gospel music, you know, but just in a different way than any other album. You know, he's always so proud. So I love my pops for always sticking with me and always supporting me. It's never been any different though. Yeah, we've always